What's up, guys? Man, it is colder than I anticipated. I was thinking about going to McPherson today and riding around, but today's vlog is probably going to stay local. If the sun was out, it wouldn't be near as bad, but, you know, clouds. I'm gonna go test the highway and see how cold it's gonna feel. I don't do cold very well. I don't know, man, that's pretty brisk. I should probably find something to talk about. I guess today I kind of want to talk about like the cost of a motorcycle. Like the cost of ownership and maintenance. Ow. It's definitely cheaper than a car in pretty much all aspects. A lot of people seem to think that insurance for a motorcycle is ridiculously high. I paid like $157 for a year. And right now for my car, I pay $100 a month. So, it's surprisingly cheap. I thought it was going to be really high because that's what my parents always told me, go figure. Obviously you got like the cost of the motorcycle, like whatever you pay for your bike. And you know, you can get bikes, just depends on where you're at and where you look and how much work you're willing to do to them. You could pay between like a few hundred to several thousand for a motorcycle. Like I've seen Boosas on like Craigslist and shit. This thing had like $7,000 worth of shit done to it. It had like a supercharger. It had like the ridiculous stretch swing arm. It was lowered. It had all this shit done to it. And it was $7,500. I realize that's quite a bit of money, but that's not bad for a motorcycle that's ridiculously fucking powerful. But those are a couple of the bigger costs of ownership. And then you got like all your gear. Like I would say I probably have like $1,000 worth of gear. And motorcycle gear is pretty expensive. But I mean, there's a reason why. It's gonna save your head, it's gonna save your skin or whatever. So I don't mind paying for it. And then the next thing would be like your fees, like your sales tax and your registration fees and all of that. This is all stuff that you kind of got to calculate in. Like you can't just say, you know, I have $1,200, here's a $1,200 bike, I should be good to go. And then whatever fees you have for like whatever you have to pay to get your license, I don't know what it is, but it's not much. Rider courses, like if you take it through Harley Davidson, I think it's like $400 or 300 or shit, I don't know. If you take one of those, you got to factor that in. And then there's like your basic maintenance shit that you got to do. Changing the oil is not real expensive because these don't take much oil, and the filters aren't really expensive because they're fucking tiny. Chain lube, I think I paid like $5 for the can of chain lube that I bought the other day, like degreasers and cleaners and all that kind of stuff. There's costs for those things too, but it's not a huge amount. And then on top of that, if you want to customize your bike at all, you know, custom accessories are pretty expensive, depending on what you get, what brand, and the quality. This handlebar, I'm happy with it. It cost me like $28 shipped to my house. It seems to be pretty good quality. I had to drill the holes for the switches myself, but that's no big deal at all. You can find good deals on custom accessories, but you just gotta look and be willing to kind of take chances on how high the quality is gonna be. I paid $16 for these grips, and the finish isn't perfect. I mean, they're kind of blemished, but you can't even notice it, especially not from a distance. And then like the mirrors, I think they look pretty sweet, in my own opinion. These mirrors were $18. I know all that stuff sounds like it's not expensive and all that, but it adds up. At my hands, I just have $72. So that adds up. Like my rear turn signals, they're the Kuriokin mini bullets. They were like $70, and it's not even like anything that changes the performance of the bike really. I mean, it changes the feel a little bit, but it doesn't make the bike faster. It's just mostly cosmetic. There's all kinds of performance upgrades you can do. Like you can change your your air filter or your air intake system so that it looks cooler and so that it works better. So that's like visual and performance. Exhaust, that'll be visual and performance too. Bigger, more open pipes will help with the flow of exhaust, so you don't have back pressure on your motor, so you get more horsepower out of your motor. Plus they look cool, they just add a better look to the bike than what the stock pipes will give you, and they give you a better sound, so you kind of get like a double bonus if you upgrade your pipes. But at the same time, that shit's expensive. Then you've got to keep in mind that some of these upgrades, especially performance upgrades, are going to require another upgrade. Like if you change your pipes or you change your intake or both, you're gonna have to rejet the carburetor to make up for the change in the fuel air mixture. And I mean, jet kits aren't terribly expensive, like 40-50 bucks maybe for a full kit, I think. You also kind of have to do research on that kind of stuff too. If you're gonna change something, you gotta make sure you don't have to do anything else to enable that. Like if you want a wider tire on the back, you can't just go get a wider tire and throw it on the stock rim. You know, you'll either have to buy an aftermarket rim, or there's some rims on other models of bikes that will fit yours and let you have a wider tire. Or like if you change the front tire size, that might affect your speedometer and odometer. Like they might not work right because of the different size. You just got to kind of think about things, kind of trace down how everything is connected and what's going to happen if you change something. A good example is like with handlebars. I changed my handlebars and luckily I didn't have to change my cables. But with some handlebars, particularly if you go higher than stock, like if you get ape hangers or something like that, you're gonna have to buy new cables too. So you got to think about that and kind of figure that into the cost of changing your handlebars. A lot of things have got to work together and it ends up costing more just because of that. Some things have a trade-off too. Like I have these new bars which look cool and give me a different feel, but I have to be leaning forward all the time now. My stock bars, I had to lean back, which this is no problem for me because I lean forward anyways when I'm riding. But there's trade-offs like that. Like these mirrors, I like the way they look, but I can barely see out of them. Tools. Motorcycle tools, especially if there's something like specialty, they're gonna cost quite a bit. A lot of times with bikes, you don't need a lot of special tools. Like with this bike, you can pretty much take the whole bike apart with 4 different size wrenches. There's a bunch of metric bolts and there's a bunch of Allen heads. There's not like Torx or any of that bullshit on here, which Torx isn't really that big of a deal either. I mean, you can buy a set of Torx bits pretty cheap too. That kind of stuff happens. Like if you're doing something then you realize you need a certain tool, you're gonna have to go get it, or you're just not gonna do what you were planning. Like I wanted to lower the suspension on my bike, and my bike didn't come with the toolkit that's supposed to come with the bike. I wanted to lower the suspension. Well, there's a special little wrench with like a tooth on the end of it to grab the spring collar to twist it to adjust. I didn't have that. I ended up finding kind of an alternative, which I wouldn't recommend to anybody, and I'm not even going to tell you what I did. You know, if I would have had that special tool, it would have been a lot easier and a lot better. I mean, it's not as bad as cars, don't get me wrong. A lot of car manufacturers have special tools where they'll seal everything up, so you have to take them to a dealership to get them worked on, and you have to pay like $200 an hour just to get them to work on it. Like, you need to have basic tools before you start doing anything to your bike anyway. And like a lot of the bikes that people get are going to be metric. You need like a set of metric wrenches and a set of Allen wrenches, and that's usually going to be more than enough. I mean, there are specialty tools like brake system tools and shit like that. You know, there are specialty tools for bikes that make things easier, but you know, they might not always be completely necessary. But anyway, to kind of wrap it up, like, if you want to buy a motorcycle and you're looking at just the price of the motorcycle, you need to look into a lot more than that, because it's going to cost you a lot more than that. Fucking neutral, man. A lot of people's concern about motorcycles is the cost, which, if you break it down, depending on what you pay for your bike and what it is and what the maintenance is required, cost is really no big deal, as long as it's worth it to you. My bike, with everything that I put into it, the cost, and then what it brings me, like, just kind of chilling, what it does for me as far as like therapy, I guess, and just enjoyment, is worth it to me. It becomes sort of who you are. Like who I am recently, motorcycles and music for the most part. Just these kind of things that like make people what they are. Athletes, their sport is what they are. Like everybody has to have something that they do. You know, you have artists and you have musicians and you have, you know, motorcyclists and motorcycle enthusiasts. You have car enthusiasts. You know, the things that people spend most of their time doing or thinking about, it's what they are. Like, they're not just hobbies. They're kind of just things that you love. Don't mind me just mowing my gutter. Oh shit, shit, fuck yeah! Dude, if that doesn't tell you that I have fun on a motorcycle, nothing will. I'm glad I was able to get out and have at least a little bit of fun today. It looks like the weather is about to get really shitty out here. Man, I really hate this. And then there's like a little fucking post broke off in the ground.